General Richard Wilmot served in leadership at a high level in the military and is inspirational with his unwavering devotion and exemplary service to the betterment of mankind. The General is a graduate of Michigan State University, the Command and General Staff College, the Industrial College of the Armed Forces, the US Army War College, and conducted research at Oxford as a War College student.
Hello folks, I'm General Richard Wilmot. I was born a long time ago in a place called East Chicago, Indiana. Pretty rough neighborhood at that time, and even rougher today. I never really thought about going into the military until I got into college, but I got into the military, and as I was leaving home for my first assignment, my dad said to me, "Son, I was in the military in 1927, 28, and 29. He was an enlisted man. He said, "I'm giving you some good advice now. Never volunteer for anything that they ask you to do." Well, I drove away, shook hands with him, drove away, thought about that. Got about 100 miles down the road, heading for Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And I decided that he was totally wrong. I decided that I was going to volunteer for everything. So Ranger School was very important to me. And can you imagine 255 people starting and only 40 or so graduating? That's how tough it was. But Ranger School taught endurance, stick-to-itiveness. It taught you to be a leader. It taught you to get in line with a team and be part of a team and be led. It taught you that you can go well beyond what you thought your limits were.
He was appointed general officer in President Reagan's first term. He is a retired US Army Brigadier General and ended his military career as the commandant of the US Army Intelligence Center and School. He also served the US government as an employee of one of their intelligence organizations and was successful in engineering the covert procurement of 12 main battle tanks of the Soviet Army. This operation was instrumental in the early demise of the Iraqi ground forces during Operation Desert Storm. He is the finest example of a world leader, a diplomat, a statesman, and has served as a U.S. emissary in 109 countries. After 9/11, Richard was sent to England and France and was requested as a popular speaker on the BBC and U.S. national television channels. As a consultant, advisor, and keynote speaker, General Wilmot has offered solutions and advice to government institutions, businesses, and the like. He's author of a textbook used by Homeland Security called Terrorism, a Growth Industry, and the Intelligence Analyst. His accomplishments and honors are many and far-reaching as a result of his military service. Yet, underneath it all is a humble man with great compassion. He can find a way to connect with anyone, usually through his interesting and often riveting storytelling. People who come in contact with Richard on any level immediately sense his genuineness and respect for others, life, and God.
Before Julie and I were married, and after we were married, we began to collaborate on certain ideas for this organization known as Angelite Academy. We began to think, what would the mission be? And the mission came down to leadership and service. Service is at the very core of what we're supposed to be doing. If everybody served, there would be no more war. We'd be serving each other. Wouldn't that be different? So you see, even almost anything you think of, almost anything you exclaim, you can extend that into the idea of service, leadership, love.
General Wilmot is passionately dedicated to training the leaders of tomorrow. He volunteers hundreds of hours of his time in Arizona and California to youth leadership training through a nonprofit corporation, Angelite Academy, which he and his wife founded. He has served with such dedication to his country and mankind. This resonates in every area of his life where he personifies the traits of a loving and devoted husband, father, grandfather, and friend.
Richard is a man that you can trust to do what's right. He's a man that you would like to have at your back in those dark hours of danger. He and I were in Vietnam, but not together. I would sure have liked to have met him at that time. When Richard and I talk now, just for the fun of it, or when we're working together, we generally have a meeting of the minds. And I can tell you at this point in time, it is truly my honor to know him as my friend. These few moments that I have spoken with you tonight is just a drop in a bucket of water. It says very little about his entire life and all that he's done in his commitment to God, to this country, to Angelite Academy, his wife, and his friends.
Hi, I'm Julia Wilmot. I've been asked to say a few words about my husband, the love of my life, Richard. This man, when I met him, had done so much service for his country and for everybody in his community that he took it for granted. He's so humble that he doesn't see it as something that he's done that's anything of any importance. When I told him what my dream was to set up Angelite Academy, he was on board 100%. And he said, I see that the kids need leadership and they need to learn how to solve their own problems. So we put our heads together and came up with Angelite Academy, submitted it to the federal agencies to see if we could get it so that we could get it the way we wanted it to go through, and that is to say that it covered service, it covered teaching, and it covered any kind of research that we felt needed to be done to help the children. So we put this through and it got okayed in 3 months. It was amazing to see how this was all very, very guided, and that the two of us working together could cause things to happen that wouldn't happen normally. He's a very kind man. He lives his truth. He loves to joke. He loves to tell stories. And if you've gotten to be around him when he's telling his endless stories about funny things that happened during war, this is the positive stuff that people need to hear. The children love to hear him talk about it. And when he does his gig with the flag and all the little kids on the stage that are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance at the children's conference, they're vying to try to be up there with him. They want to be like him. They want to be like all the other people that are in the classroom that are training to work with the children in Angelite Academy. We are so thankful that Richard came into our life, and I am so very, very thankful to God and to everyone who was instrumental in getting Richard and I to meet each other. And he's been the light of my life. He is the most wonderful person on earth, and I'm prejudiced, and I know it. We thank you for being here, and we're so glad that he's being honored. Thank you.